Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Coulter and I'm going to be talking to you today about having your work published in major publications and other news sources. Some big, some small, and we'll talk a little bit about what the differences and benefits to you as a photographer can be to getting your work published. So I have had some really great success over the past year or so with having my work published. I've had some photos and a story associated with that, with those photos published in CNN, on ABC, NBC, CBC, CTV, also on BuzzFeed, Wedding Bells, The Knot, Martha Weddings. So that all has kind of happened over the past year, and I am going to tell you how you can make something like that happen. So the best way that you can start out by getting your work noticed is by something really simple called 2 bright lights. I use it all the time. A girlfriend of mine introduced me to it, and I feel like my entire world of submitting my work for editors of magazines and blogs to notice it has completely changed. So 2 bright lights is really simple. I'll show you here. So this is my album interface, I guess. So here are just some of the albums that I have submitted through 2 bright lights. So you can see I submit about 100 to 130 images per each wedding. A lot of them have great details. Obviously a really cute wedding. They don't have to be anything over the top or extravagant. Obviously you can see like this one here probably gives you a little bit of an idea of a little bit more of an extravagant one. But this one here was just 2 people and their witnesses, and they got married in their backyard. So on 2 bright lights, you can create an album, and then you can submit them to a bunch of different publications through that. So all of these albums have been submitted to different publications, small and big, exclusive and non-exclusive. And if you look more kind of on the 2 bright lights homepage, you'll see which publications they submit to or they work with that you can submit to. So that's a really, really easy way to do it. The most important thing about doing this though is although it simplifies the process of actually submitting your images, so you don't have to go to individual websites like go to The Knot and figure out what their restrictions are and figure out what they're looking for from each wedding. It simplifies that portion, but editors are still looking for the same thing. They're looking for gorgeous images, they're looking for unique photos, and they're looking for a great story. And those same things are going to be all you'll need to get published with any news agency or magazine or anything like that. The great story is so critical to having your work published. If you just have great photos and they're not unique and they don't have anything special or different about them, obviously I'm sure it was a gorgeous wedding and the couple probably had a great day, but when we're talking about something that sets itself apart, I think that you really have to be looking for a great story. So to give you an idea of what it takes to have a story, not just be something that gets picked up by 1 or 2 magazines, but gets picked up internationally, as I experienced last year, you have to have a really incredible story. It has to be really great timing. That's really important, and unfortunately great timing. And that means like something that's on trend that people are talking about. That doesn't always happen. It doesn't come along all the time. So don't be constantly waiting for your next viral post. It's probably not going to happen right away. And if it does happen for you, you just have to know how to be prepared to run with it and keep making it happen. So the story that I had published in a bunch of different news publications and magazines and whatnot was a story about a bride whose wedding dress, she was putting it on about an hour before her ceremony started, and her bridesmaid went to go zip it up and the zipper broke right off. So it came completely off of the track on both sides. So I've seen this happen before, and generally there's only like 1 or 2 things you can do. You can open up the zipper and try and clamp it shut, or you just sew the bride into her dress, which isn't a great situation. And it's certainly not something that anyone in the room was prepared to do. So one of the bridesmaids went next door to the neighbor and asked if they had any pliers or anything that we could try and fix this dress with. And he said, well, actually, I've got something better. I have a Syrian family of refugees that's just moved here from Canada 2 days ago. And the father was a master tailor in Aleppo. So obviously we were like, oh, we don't want to inconvenience him, but we would really love his help if he can come over and help us. So he came in, he didn't speak any English. He obviously understood what we were dealing with once he took a look at it. He sewed the dress onto the bride and on we went. And at the moment that this was all going down, I was obviously snapping because I wanted the bride to have authentic images of how her day unfolded. But later, once I took a step back, I realized what an important piece of news almost that this was, and what a story I had that people would actually want to hear. At the time, I thought it was a story that maybe people in my local area would want to hear, because it was just a cool local story of something that I think is unique to the timing. We had just had a massive influx of Syrian refugees coming into Canada. And there were people on both sides of that, and there still are, but people were really talking about this. And this was a positive, very feel-good story that I knew would probably have legs and would be able to run. So that night I came home from the wedding, edited a few of my favorite images from the wedding, and wrote a decent sized story. There's a few paragraphs of the story behind it, because the photos, although I think they're great, they don't really tell the story without at the very least a headline. So I posted that on my business Facebook page and scheduled it to come out the next morning so that people would see it when they woke up and went to work. And when I woke up the next day, it had already taken off. It had hundreds of likes, which was already kind of out of the norm. My Facebook page is probably pretty lame, like most of yours are, unless you're boosting posts. It doesn't get a ton of traction. And it had hundreds of likes already within an hour or so, people commenting like crazy, people tagging their friends in it. And that's when news agencies started to really pick it up. And once the local news station fed it to the national news station, and the national news stations all share everything with each other, and that's when the wedding magazines and wedding blogs all started to pick it up as well. So basically, that's how a viral post happens in a nutshell. And you have to know that that's not going to happen every single time. A lot of the time it is just me plugging away, posting all of my weddings on 2 bright lights, and just hoping for the best. A lot of it is a numbers game. You have to have a great story, you have to have great images, but it really is just the right story at the right time for that editor. The longer that you're involved in submitting your work to 2 bright lights, or if you are going the old school way and doing it specifically to each publication, you're going to get to know the publications really well, and you're going to get to know what it is that they like. So you'll notice that some of my weddings, they've been like these ones that were smaller, they were submitted to publications like Simply Elope. So those are smaller, but they still give you great trackbacks and clickbacks onto your site. They may not be the biggest. They may not get you hundreds of thousands of views on all of those posts. In some cases, they might not get you very many at all. But for how easy it is to upload, sort, and submit to a bunch of publications at one time, it's worth it. But yeah, getting to know the publications and getting to know what they're hoping for is really helpful. Also, which is really helpful, is that 2 Bright Lights will send out monthly requests from magazines and blogs of what they're looking for. And if you ever have something that fits in that category, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to have your work published, which is really awesome. So I know this has sounded like just one enormous ad for 2 Bright Lights. It's not. I'm not like working for them or anything. I'm just telling you what works for me, what's really, really simple, and what's a really easy way to get your work featured and published. So good luck with it. remember that that's not the most important thing in the world. People seeing your images, it doesn't need to be on a big publication. It will give you credibility. It'll make you feel good. It'll make your couples feel good. But you can keep working away without the publications. But if you are hoping to get your work seen and published, then that's my best tips for you to do it. Good luck, and if you do get your work published, definitely let us know. We can't wait to see it.